Imagine a vast country, the Soviet Union, where a very secret plant called Mayak was busy making materials for nuclear weapons. In the rush to build bombs, the people running Mayak had a big, dangerous problem. What to do with the highly poisonous, glowing radioactive waste? They chose the fastest, cheapest, and most dangerous ways to deal with it. They dumped liquid waste into a nearby river, the Teka, and into shallow lakes. They also stored huge amounts of highly concentrated waste in large tanks, but without the proper cooling or safety measures. On September 29, 1957, disaster struck. In one of the storage tanks, a cooling system failed. The liquid radioactive waste inside began to heat up and dry out, concentrating into a powerful, explosive sludge. What happened next was not a nuclear bomb, but a fierce chemical explosion inside the tank. The blast was ferocious. It was equivalent to the power of 70 to 100 tons of TNT. It ripped the tank open, hurled its heavy concrete lid 25 meters away, and turned much of the deadly contents into a massive cloud of radioactive dust. This event is now known as the Kyshtym Disaster. When the tank blew, the wind immediately carried the huge cloud of radioactive contamination to the northeast. This trail of poison became known as the East Urals Radioactive Trace, EURT. The contamination spread over thousands of square kilometers in a strip about 300 kilometers long and 20 to 50 kilometers wide. The release of radioactivity was absolutely enormous, about 20 million curies, which is roughly 1/10 10% of the total amount released during the Chernobyl disaster in 1986. On site, 2 workers died instantly from the force of the blast. Sadly, 10 to 20 more suffered severe radiation sickness within the first few hours. The fallout spread quickly, and hundreds of thousands of residents were affected. Many villages lay right in the path of the dangerous cloud. People living nearby witnessed strange and frightening sights. They saw a fiery rainbow in the sky, caused by the air glowing from the radiation. They watched a mushroom-like cloud rising high above the factory. As the fallout rained down as a black, sticky dust, people reported a strange metallic taste in their mouths. The radiation levels in the plume's path shot up to dangerous levels high enough to be lethal within minutes. The Soviet authorities scrambled to respond, sealing off roads and sending in soldiers, but the action was chaotic. They waited 10 to 16 hours before starting to evacuate people from the hardest-hit areas. This delay meant thousands were exposed to high doses of radiation. Eventually, whole communities had to be moved out of their homes forever. The deepest injury of this disaster was the secrecy. The Mayak plant was located inside a closed city, and the government completely covered up the accident for decades. They told their own people and the world nothing. People downwind felt ill and saw strange colors in the sky, but official reports denied that any major accident had happened. Villagers began to experience strange deaths and sickness over time. This secrecy made the health and social damage far worse because people kept living on, farming, and raising families on land and near water that was badly poisoned. The truth only came out slowly, years later, through the efforts of scientists and people who questioned the official story. The Kyshtym Disaster left a deep, long-lasting scar on the land and the people. Long-term studies on the exposed populations, the groups living near the Teka River, and those evacuated from the radioactive trace show a clear and lasting toll. They have higher rates of cancer, chronic radiation sickness, and other serious health issues. The disaster created severe environmental problems. lakes near Mayak became some of the most radioactive places on Earth. Lake Karachay, where waste was dumped, became so contaminated that standing on its shore for just an hour could deliver a lethal dose of radiation. Whole areas of the countryside remain restricted and unsafe for farming or settlement, even now. The core cause of this tragedy was poor waste handling and a system that always put secrecy and speed ahead of safety. It shows us that when authorities hide the danger and keep people in the dark, the damage to health and life can last for generations.